Duke Eclipse presents the Horror Hideout Podcast, a podcast covering everything horror, including books, comics, and movies. Presented by Dawson Duke and Kayla Bullock. Welcome to our quarterly favorites episode of Horror Hideout.
So we did an episode at the end of 2025 where we talked about our favorites for the year.
That we posted in the beginning of January.
Yeah.
We did two separate ones, one books and one's movies. Yeah. This time we're just doing a combined episode.
Yeah, and so we thought it would be a good idea every quarter to just kind of touch on some of our favorites.
Yes. New things we've read or watched.
Yeah.
Maybe bring up stuff that's now in our favorites that we talked about on the podcast, or bring up things that we didn't talk about on the podcast.
Yeah. So, let's just jump right in.
Okay.
I'm going to start with a couple movies that are newer that we've seen in theaters. I'm not going to say too much because I don't think you've seen them and I don't want to do spoilers on them. First off is Primate. Primate is about a family where the mom was a scientist and she has passed away, but she had a chimp that she was working with. I've only seen the movie once, so I want to say, maybe sign language she was teaching him. Anyway, so there's two daughters and the dad is deaf, which I only mention that because it's important later on. The chimpanzee ends up getting infected with rabies and he gets out of his enclosure, and so the whole movie is basically these girls trying to fight this chimpanzee. And I don't know if you know anything about rabies, but they don't like rabies water.
Hydrophobia is like the first symptom.
So for part of the movie, they hide in their swimming pool. Like, it's just a really cool movie. But my favorite part of the whole movie, and the reason I mentioned the dad, is because there's a scene in the movie where we know the chimp is in the house, but it's from dad's point of view. It's not really from his point of view because it's third person, but it's like from his, I don't know how to explain.
It's like how they do it in A Quiet Place.
Yeah. And so, because he's deaf, you know that the chimpanzee's in the house, but you can't hear anything.
And that's what A Quiet Place does too.
And so I absolutely love this movie. Like, we walked out of the theater and I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is 5 stars all the way. Definitely one I'll buy on DVD when it comes out. I'm old school and still do DVDs.
I do too. Speaking of A Quiet Place, one of the most impactful scenes in like a newer horror movie I've seen is that scene where it's from her point of view and we see the lights flashing behind her and she turns around and sees her little brother with that rocket, and then we cut back and we hear the noise it's making, and then he gets taken.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like just the beginning of that movie, like up to that point, could be its own little horror short.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
I haven't either. I think I've only seen it twice too. I think I watched it like once when it first came out, and then again one time. I
only saw it once because I didn't like it very well.
I know you got mad at me and my little sister because we were talking.
That's exactly why I didn't like it. Because somebody shut up, and it was called A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
You need to be quiet. So yeah, I highly recommend Primate. I know you haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to. I'm not going to do too much of a giveaway. But it's just a good animal horror movie. And the second one I want to talk about that we saw in theaters is called Send Help, and you haven't seen it either.
No.
So I went into this one.
Is that the podcast one?
No.
Okay.
No. So I went.
Did you go see that one?
Not
Sorry,
yet.
I keep interrupting.
We were supposed to, and we haven't went yet. I was actually gonna see if you wanted to go Monday and see it, but something happened Monday. What happened Monday night? I don't know. I think I ended up stuck at work late. Yeah, I was at work like an hour and a half late. Anyway, the second one is Send Help, and I had seen a preview or two for this one, but I really didn't know what it was about. And it's got Rachel McAdams in it, and I knew that it was I thought it was advertised as a horror movie, and I knew that it was about her and her boss somehow got stranded on this deserted island. And she was kind of like the survivalist type, which you wouldn't have got from her character at the beginning. So we go in there and we're watching this movie, and it was a really good movie, but I'm watching this and I'm like, this is not horror. Like, this is romance. What? Because it's kind of like they're falling in love on this deserted island, and she's got to take care of him and all this stuff. And of course, it was kind of like it started out, and she had applied for a show. She applied for Survivor, and she just you wouldn't get that impression from her. And her boss, so her boss had passed away, and the company went to his son, and so the son, the new boss, had actually found her uh, application video for the thing, and so they were making fun of her before they ended up on this island. And so it was like he changed, and he was this really nice guy, and they were kind of falling in love, and then all hell breaks loose, and the movie went a completely different direction than I thought it was going to go. And I don't do romance movies, so when I was watching it and thinking it was romance, I was like, this is good, but I'm not sure this is for me. And then by the end of it, I was freaking speechless. Speechless. It was so freaking good.
That reminds me of, and I don't think you've seen this, but I think I may have mentioned it before. But it's got Sebastian Stan in it, and it's a movie that it starts out and it's like a whole like it's like the meet cute thing where this girl meets this guy at like the supermarket, and they talk about how like they both tried dating apps and you can't find people on there anymore. Like like everyone just wants a fling. No one is taking it
Right.
seriously, and so they kind of have like this. The beginning of the movie, it's like a romance movie, and then stuff starts to go bad partway through the movie. But and you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to say what
What's the
happens.
name of it?
I don't remember. It's one word. It's like feed or eat or meat or something like that. But I can't remember what it's called. But it's also really cool because you don't get the title of it. Like I mean, obviously you know what is going into it, but you don't get like the title card in the movie until like halfway through the movie after stuff starts to go bad. If I remember right. But that movie is really good, and we should cover it on the podcast sometime. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. Are you googling it? Don't Google it because I don't want you to spoil
No,
stuff.
I just want to see what the name of it was.
I know, but don't because you might see stuff.
No, I'm on Wikipedia where it just tells me the names. Monday. Fresh.
No, fresh. That's it.
2022 fresh.
Yes, we should do that on the podcast sometime. But one thing I want to talk about, and I can't remember if I've talked about it. I feel like maybe I brought it up in another episode. But there's this comic series called Die, and two of my biggest interests. Yeah, I'm a big nerd. Well, really, three of my big interests uh, are like horror, and then like tabletop role playing games, and then I also really like comics.
Which I'm gonna throw this out there before you go too far. Dawson made his own tabletop playing role playing game, and
Yes.
I played it, and I was super impressed by this game and so excited to play it. And he hadn't told me that he made this game, and when he told me, I'm like, no, you didn't. This is so cool. But he actually made this game, and it's what's it called? Post.
Yes, it's called Post After the Apocalypse.
So it's really cool. Check out his other channel. He has a video of me playing it on there. So check it out.
But Die, and I don't know, I it's like dark fantasy, which is kind of a subgenre of horror. It's also a subgenre of fantasy. I don't know how horrific people would actually say it is, but it's a story about these like I would guess they're probably junior high age, and they start playing a TTRPG together that they're like DM, their game master, whatever you want to call it, um, created, or at least you think he did. He says he did, and the way it works is there's so when you're playing D&D, there's really six main dice, seven if you count the percentile, but that's just another D10 with a zero at the end of each number so that you can roll like on a hundreds table or something, or like a percentage if you need it. Um, but there's really six main dice, which are D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and D20. So each person in the game just gets one die. So him as the game master takes the D20 because he's the god of the world, and like one player wants to be someone who, he is kind of like I don't want to say he's like the main character, but he gets a lot of focus, and we get a lot of it from his point of view throughout as we go throughout the story. And he wants to be like a seductress, like he wants to play like a seductress character. So I think he ends up getting the D4. But anyway, each person wants to play like a different archetype. So like his little sister is playing like that guy that I just talked about, not the DM, but like the seductress. Um, his little sister is playing, and she wants to be basically like a from like a cyberpunk world where she has all these cybernetics, but she's almost like a junkie where she like needs like these chips that like power her temporarily to like do certain things, but then when that runs out, like she has to have one once a day or she'll like essentially die. Like she won't be able to do anything. And then all the other people pick different kinds of characters and all these different archetypes that they want to play. And so they each get handed a die, and then after that happens, they literally get sucked into the game world. And then we cut to like I want to say a year later, and we don't know what happened in there. Like we don't we see them get absorbed, like they disappear, and then we cut to the year later when they come back, and they just like stumble out of the woods, and um,
Okay, I may need to
there's
read
only
this.
you do. There's only 5 of them left. One of them got left behind, and one person is missing an arm, and you don't know what happened to them in there.
Wow.
So then it shows like all their lives as an adult, and it kind of reminds me of It, where each of them like is doing their own thing, and they don't really talk that much anymore, um, and they're all kind of like doing their own things, and like one guy is that was kind of like almost like the class clown of the group, if you know what I mean. He I think he played kind of like a rogue type character that like uh, was always getting into trouble and all that kind of stuff, and he wrote a book series based off what happened to them as kids, but he changed a bunch of stuff. Like he changed like character names and stuff because we find out that they have some kind of magical deal where they can't talk about what happened in there, but you don't know why that magical deal came about, and it's all these mysteries that you find out as you go through it.
Is it a series or is it just one book?
It's a comic series,
Oh,
and there's
gotcha.
20 issues,
Oh, wow.
maybe 22, something like that. So it's not that long. It's not that long of a run. Um, it's I think it'd be less than your I Hate Fairyland, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah. So as you go through, you just like you find out all these mysteries. Well, when they're all adults, the seductress guy, I think it's him, gets a D20 in the mail, a bloodstained D20, and it looks like the D20 they had as kids. So they all meet back up together, and again, it reminds me of It, where like they're all meeting up back together. They meet up all back together, and they get sucked back into the world.
Okay, don't tell me anything else.
That's it. That's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil for them
I want to
either.
read it. I want to read it.
But it's so good.
Um.
Oh, and I will say this because this isn't really a spoiler. You find this out. The one that didn't come back is the DM guy.
That makes sense with the D20. Um. So I know I mentioned this on the podcast, but I didn't go into too much detail because I didn't want to spoil anything. But the book's been out for about 4 or 5 months now. So Darker Days by Thomas Hoevelt. My husband picks on me if I say Thomas. It's Thomas. He's from the Netherlands. So, and I actually talked about one of his books on our favorite episodes last time. But Darker Days is about a neighborhood, and in this neighborhood they have 11 months of prosperity, and everything's good, and life is just perfect, and like the main family that we focus on, they have a son and a daughter, and the son is a piano prodigy. The daughter is a swimmer, like set to go to the 2028 Olympics, maybe, whatever, whenever the next swimming Olympics would be. But she, like, for example, the daughter has really bad depression. And so in November of every year,
they're without their blessings.
And so, like, she gets, like, a year's worth of depression in that 1 month.
Yeah.
And so, of course, it's this whole neighborhood. The whole thing, the same thing happens with every family in the neighborhood. Well, you find out that, and this is not, he will tell you, he told us this part at Books and Brews too, so it's not really a spoiler, but you find out that basically they've made a deal where they have to sacrifice someone every year to keep their blessings. And so the book actually spans 2 different years. The first year, well, so in the second half of the book, the daughter finds out that they have to sacrifice
Yeah.
somebody for this. But the end of the first year, and I'm not going to tell anything about what happens but so the first year, everything just keeps going wrong with their sacrifices. Like they just can't get, and I'm not making excuses because you shouldn't ever do this to people, but they try to find people like if somebody's dying of cancer or
Yeah.
somebody's in their, it kind of reminded me.
Drive Me to Hell.
Yes, it's kind of like that where like they're trying to find somebody who I don't want to say doesn't have anything to live for, but like has lived their life or doesn't have much hope of a future or things like that. And year one, everything just keeps going wrong with all these people, and they have to do their sacrifice before the end of November. Like that, they have to. And so the end of year one, the way that year ends, I had to put the book down and walk away for a day because it was, as a mom, it hit me so hard. And then year two, the second half of the book, the daughter actually finds out before she's supposed to what is going on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything else about it, but he is by far one of my favorite authors in the world. He's only got three books published in English. He just came out with another one in Dutch. So obviously he's Dutch. It has to go through translations and all of that. But so I'm really looking forward to his new book. But check him out because he is like everything he's written that I've read is amazing. And we actually at Books and Brews last year got to have pizza with him. Super nice guy, and he's young. He's probably not as young as I think. He looks really young, but I think he said he was like mid-30s. But really good guy. Really nice, really fun. And the book left me speechless, and that takes a lot for a book to do. As much as I read, like it just like blew my socks off. So definitely check out. That's Darker Days by Thomas O. Huvelt.
And I did want to mention that Die has an actual role-playing game that they made, which I have not played, and I don't know anything about it, but it looks like it would be fun, and the comics have some stuff for it in the back of them, like some of the later issues do.
Okay.
And so I think it'd be fun to try sometime.
Yeah, we will.
But I mean, if what I just described sounded interesting to you, that comic series, I'm pretty sure the story of the game is that your character got sucked into a fantasy world.
Maybe we don't want to play that one. Maybe it's scary.
But yeah. So I just thought that was cool. Which the Pathfinder comics did a similar thing, where there was just the issues, and then at the back they would have like character stats and a little bit of an adventure. So if you get all the issues, you have like a full adventure and like all these different character stats and stuff.
That's cool.
Which that was the first comic series I read that had something like that in the back, and that's just so cool to me.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if there's other series because there's a lot of comics and like TTRPGs are both very nerdy things that have a lot of crossover and fans, and so I don't know if there's like a bunch of other comics that have that kind of stuff in the back if they're based, because there's like a million Dungeons and Dragons comic series, so I don't know if others have that kind of stuff in the back, but those are just the two I know of, and it's just such a cool thing to me.
Yeah. So your turn.
So I'm gonna just touch on this for a minute because we're gonna do a whole episode on it. But one of the best movies I've watched lately that I had never seen before, because I'm trying to go back and watch some of the classic movies, you know what I mean, was Seven. And I'm not gonna say anything else about it.
Okay, I was gonna say don't, because we're gonna do a whole episode on that one. So.
But seeing it did make me want to watch Pulp Fiction, because I also have not seen Pulp Fiction. You don't like it?
It's okay.
But Seven is really good, and if you have not seen it, I encourage you to watch it. And when we do come out with our 7 episode, do not watch it unless you've watched the movie. It is one that you need to experience for yourself, because we will not be able to capture the atmosphere or everything that happens in there.
Okay. So, sorry. I had to pull up my book list. I read a lot and I can't remember what my reads were. So, Viggy Parr Hampton has a book called A Veritable Household Pet. And I've actually met her too. She was at Books and Brews. But this is a different kind of a horror book. So it's very I don't know what you call it. It's more of like an emotional like. So I'll just tell you what it's about, and then you can tell me what you think you would classify it as. So the main girl has a younger sister who something happened, and her younger sister got scared of everything, like to the point she didn't leave her bedroom. They couldn't get her to go to school. They could,
Yeah.
I mean, like she was terrified of. And I wish I could remember. I've only read it once. I wish I could remember what happened, but it was back in the 60s or 70s. And at 11 years old, they took her sister in and they gave her a lobotomy. And so the whole book is focused on the older sister, but how much her life changed because of this lobotomy that her younger
Yeah.
sister had. And so it's not a typical horror book, um, but man, you want to talk about one that'll rip your heart out and leave it on the floor. I mean, it was so well written. She's such a good author. It was so beautifully written. And I mean, people went through that back then. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
literally a thing where, and I mean,
Especially women.
yeah, I mean, the dad ended up committing suicide. Can I say that on here?
Yeah, you're fine.
And so then the mom just became this alcoholic, and um, even after, so they had the lobotomy, and the little girl started to get better. Like she was, it took a while, but like the big sister was teaching her to read again, and she was learning how to walk again, and all this stuff. But the mom just wanted to keep her like I think if I remember right, she told everybody that they had sent her to go live with another family member. So the little girl didn't even leave the house. I call her a little girl, but of course she grew up throughout the book. But she didn't even leave the house for years on end. And the older sister would try to help her with stuff, and the mom would get mad. And so it was like, I guess domestic horror might be the
Yeah.
best way to describe it. But if you want one that like tears your heart out, makes you cry. I don't cry a whole lot when I read, but makes you cry. And then the ending just like was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, in a bad way, in a good way, but it was like a heartbreaking. Like I mean, just oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Um.
Definitely recommend that one.
So I was trying to think of something else I could talk about, and this is kind of out there. I don't know how horror this is, but there's a comic series that's called Venomverse, and the whole story of it, which obviously it's like it's Venom, like the Spider-Man enemy that's a symbiote, and basically the story of it is that there's these things called poisons, and they're these little short white beings, and what they do is they're basically a symbiote that latches on and takes over the symbiotes. And so it
That's
basically,
different.
yes, it basically destroys and eats the person that's inside the original symbiote, and then like basically assimilates the other symbiote and retains some of their memories and like their mannerisms and stuff.
Really?
But the reason I bring this up and I'm talking about horror is because it's this like venomized Doctor Strange that is summoning all these different venoms from other worlds, like a venomized Captain America, a venomized Wolverine, a venomized Deadpool, like all these different people. And which I do think it's fun because spoiler, but like venomized Deadpool lets himself get taken over by a poison because he knows he's crazy enough that once it does take him over and like takes his brain, he still ends up helping out the good guys because he's still in control because he's just like his brain is that jacked up, and he knew that was gonna happen. Um, but even like a venomized Hulk and stuff like that. And so these poisons pretend to be people that you love.
Ooh.
So like I can't remember who it's for, but like one is pretending to be like a little girl to lure someone in, like someone's daughter or something like that. Or I think it might not be someone's daughter. It might just be Venom, and it might just be acting like a little girl to draw him in, like a little girl that's in trouble. But like just the horror, like in the idea of that, like even though the symbiotes are not like human things, this thing can kill them, and also it destroys the host inside of the symbiotes and stuff, and just like the horror of it, like mimicking people and all that stuff.
That's scary.
Yeah, but
Um,
I read that series when it first came out, way back in, I don't know. But anyway, it's really cool. Another thing that I want to mention about it that's really cool that I don't ever see anyone talk about, and I would love to do a video about this on my Duke Eclipse channel. But they actually hired claymation people to make claymation animations that of some of the characters being venomized. So they did a series they did that was called Edge of Venomverse that goes through and tells you the story of some of the characters and how they ended up with symbiotes in their universe, like Old Man Logan and Gwenpool and like all that. Um, and they basically just they made they're like 30 to a minute long. Like they're not 30 seconds to a minute long. They're not like super long videos, but they're just these little claymation animations of these different characters getting venomized. So like Ghost Rider and stuff like that. And they're just on YouTube and you can watch them for free. And there's a playlist on the Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel. But they made those, and they also and those are called Edge of Venomverse, with the same name as the comic series that they're like kind of based off of. And that like they're clay figures, but they're like perfect clay figures of the designs from the comics. And then there's a they did a like a separate sequel kind of claymation series of that was just Venomverse, where it's certain scenes from the actual Venomverse comics themselves, but done with claymation. So it's like when Venom runs into the first like the Spider-Man poison, and it like fights him, like that kind of stuff. And it's so cool, and it's so like out there. And as far as I can tell, they haven't really done anything similar since. Like they had a show that was called MODOK that was kind of like a sitcom that followed MODOK, which is a Marvel villain that they did through like stop motion. But just for them to make those little animations that are like 30 seconds to a minute long, just as like kind of like commercials for those comic series that are coming out. That's just such a cool concept that I've never seen anyone else do.
yeah.
Because even
And like 30 seconds of claymation probably
yeah,
took them 3 days to
yeah.
make.
Because even like Lego did something similar back, oh I don't know, 2001 or something like that. Like they hired this guy, and he has him up on his YouTube channel this day. But they hired a guy to do Lego stop motions to advertise for their Lego Space Police line.
Really?
And the reason Lego Space Police 3 specifically, and the reason I know that is because they're on the special features for the Clutch Powers movie.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they're really cool because they're literally like hand animated stop motion videos of all these different things, and they're a little bit longer, I want to say, because they're like commercial length, so they're like minute and a half or something. But like go check out those two things, and they're not necessarily like, I mean, the Venom one's kind of horror because symbiotes always kind of have a horror edge to them. Um, but I mean the Space Police is not horror at all. But those are just such cool projects that I never see anyone talk about.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about it before. Horror's so subjective that,
Yeah.
I mean, technically the movie we're doing next week, is it really horror? Disaster horror? Kinda.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, same thing with like Seven. It's technically a thriller, but I think it's enough. It has enough horror
pretty
elements.
horror.
Yeah.
um, okay.
It's
So
also very. I would say it's pretty tasteful horror though,
it is,
because
but
like
it's very dark. I mean,
yeah,
it's very, I don't know.
gritty.
Yes, that's the word. So the next I want to talk about two at the same time. I could talk all night about what I've
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
what I've read, and what I've seen.
See, and last time we did this, I had notes of certain things I wanted to talk about, and then I also came up with ones while we were sitting here. I don't have any notes this time,
Yeah.
so this is just all off the dome.
Well, I just have my list pulled up because I need
Yeah.
to see what I read when. Um, I'm going back to my guy, Timothy King. Here we go again. So, him and James Cain, and I think I actually mentioned this one on the podcast a couple months ago, but it actually just released. So, Timothy King, James Cain wrote a book called Rideshare. And Rideshare is about one cab driver and 4 different passengers that he has on, that he takes.
Are we gonna do that on the podcast at some point? Because you had brought it up at one point.
Probably not.
Okay.
But I love both of these writers. I love their style. And it was kind of fun because I read it as an ARC reader, and so they had a Facebook group for the ARC readers, and after most people had read it, they're like, okay, so who wrote this story? Who wrote this story? And I got every single one of them right, which I thought was cool because you can just tell their different writing styles. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away about this one, but the cool thing about rideshare is there is not an ending to the story. The story ends with somebody saying, and blah, 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 dot, dot, dot. And so when you get to the end of the story, you have until, I think, June 30th of 2026 to go on their website and vote for who you think or how you think the book should end. And that is such a cool concept that I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever seen anything like that before.
I continue, but I have something similar.
Um, but it's just it's neat because like one guy is a rich guy, and of course everybody's fighting over his money for when he died. When he's what's going to happen to his money when he dies, and then I mean, just they're all four completely different stories, and the only thing it seems like the only thing that ties them together is the
The
cab
taxi,
driver.
yeah.
But then at the end, it all comes together, and so I loved that. I love that, and
Well, that kind of reminds me of, is it Tales of Halloween, where it was like individual stories and they all come together at the end.
well, I mean, Trick or Treat's like that too,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. But Trick or Treat, the Trick or Treat more left breadcrumbs throughout the
Yeah.
different stories.
Well, yeah.
But Tales of Halloween, it was more like these are each individual stories, maybe with a couple references to the other ones. But then at the end, it's like that last story brings them all together.
Yeah, and that's how. And this wasn't on my list of favorites, but because I read it last year, but there's a book called To Hell with Hallmark by, dang it, what's the guy's name? I think his first name's Brad.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
To Hell with Hallmark, and it is. I don't even know how many stories are on there, but it's all of these little stories, and it's everybody talks about the perfect Hallmark town, like what you see in a Hallmark movie where everything's perfect. Well, in this book, everything goes to heck. Like
Yeah.
the gingerbread people come to life, and they're attacking people, and like everything that would be the perfect Hallmark movie just falls apart in
Yeah.
this town, and it's all these different things going on, and then at the end they all come back around, and you find out why. My favorite Christmas horror book I think I've ever read. Um, so one more I want to talk about, Tim King again. Um, he has one coming out, and I cannot tell you the date it's coming out. Again, I arc read for him, which if you don't know, that's an advanced reader copy. So I read his books before they're published, which I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do that because he just signed with a big publisher, which is fantastic. But anyway, We Were Never Really Friends is his new book, and it is about a group of friends that go to an island that is owned by one of the guys, and they're just going there for a weekend or for a week, I think. And but it's like this group of friends where he's sleeping with his wife and she's sleeping with this girl's husband, and just all this kind of crazy stuff's going on in this friend group that they don't know about each other. And then people start dying on the island. Of course, there's no way to get off the island, so him and James Cain both, if you read their books, not all of them, not all of their books, but like Tim's books, a lot of them are starting to tie in together, and then
Yeah.
James is a lot of his, and I love that world building.
Yeah.
Where
Well, like Stephen King did it too.
right, like where it's
Like
not,
it always comes back to Derry or
right, or Castle Rock.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same characters, it's not the same story, it's not, but like there's
They're all in the same universe.
Easter eggs throughout
Yeah,
all
yeah.
yeah, there you go. Like they're building these
Yeah.
universes, and I just love that. So definitely check that one out when it comes out. It's fantastic, and Tim probably won't hear this, but congratulations on signing with a big publisher. James Cain just signed with the same big publishers. Brad Ricks, he wrote To Hell with Hallmark. But yeah, so shout out to those two. But yeah, definitely look for Rideshare and look for, which is available now, and look for We Were Never Really Friends.
So you mentioned the thing about how they're letting people vote for the end, and you haven't really seen something like that. Well, first of all, there was a whole comic thing where they voted to see if Jason Todd would live or die.
I think I remember you talking about that.
Yes, he was the second Robin. He replaced Dick Grayson, and a lot of people did not like him and thought that he was just a Dick Grayson ripoff and that he shouldn't be a character. And so there's an issue where he's in a warehouse with his mom and it explodes, and readers could call in. I think there was two different numbers, and you called one to vote yes and one to vote no for him dying, and ultimately they voted for him to die.
Oh my
So that they
gosh.
killed off this character because people voted for it. But the other thing I wanted to mention that's more similar to what you're talking about, there's a comic book series by Antarctic Press called Final Girl, and I believe there's four girls in it, and they're being hunted down, and they reveal new stuff about the girls each issue, but it was like advertised, and I think this was like kind of early internet, like when people were like when the internet was first becoming accessible to like the broader public, like early 2000s or something. But so I wonder if that's why I didn't get a whole lot of attention because I had never really heard of it until I found it. Because I was actually trying to see if there was anything to do with the Final Girl movie, like if they ever made comics or anything of it. Because a lot of times, like something will have a comic adaptation or have comics with it, and no one even knows it exists. Like when I found the Willy's Wonderland comics, or I Am Legend has comics. Like there's all these things that have comics. Seven has a comic or like a graphic novel.
Really?
Yeah. Um, so there's all these things that people don't realize are comics. So sometimes I'll just Google the name of like a movie comic. Well, there's a comic, like I said, Antarctic Press called Final Girl, and I think it's four girls that it kind of follows, and you actually at the time you were able to go to like a website and vote for which girl would be the final girl, which girl would survive.
Okay, that's cool.
Which I don't think I ever actually read the series. I just read about it. I
I'd
think
like to read that one.
I think I tried to read it and I couldn't really understand what was happening.
No.
Like I don't know. I should probably try it again. It may have been like 3 a.m. and I was trying to read it or something and I just wasn't absorbing it. But
My question with that, though, and I have the same question with rideshare, and I'm not taking anything away from something written like that, but like rideshare is a published novel, so
yeah,
like how obviously I'm sure copies after the voting's over will be
yeah.
updated, but like how are they going to write another comic that ends? I know that's an older comic, but did they write a comic that ended that series with the
So
way people voted?
I don't know because I haven't read that far into it. But like with the Jason Todd thing, for a long time it was lost media. People didn't even know if it was real or if it was just like theorized. But there actually are Jason Todd pages where he lives. They actually wrote both, and they just published the one that people voted for.
Really?
Yes. So I don't know if it was like that where they wrote individual issues for each girl being the survivor at the end, or maybe even I don't know how long they survive into the series. So I don't know if maybe like in the last issue they all die like halfway through, so they only had to write the back half of the comic and they just drew it with the different girls living,
Interesting.
or what they
It's
did.
kind of like they do with like the Super Bowl and stuff, where they print newspapers with blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Both
yeah,
teams
yeah.
winning or
Or they do.
presidential
I was gonna
elections
say that.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Interesting.
So
So, what's next on your list? Because I feel like I've talked. I've got two more I
um,
definitely want to talk about.
we'll talk about another one while I'm thinking
Okay.
because oh no, I do have one. Sorry. So there's a series called Suicide Squad Blaze, which I think it's called Black Label is what they call it. DC Comics has a label like an imprint within them, which an imprint is just like it's it's
Kind of
part
like
of
a
the
company inside a company.
yeah, it's part of their company, but they're like this is gonna publish different stuff than what we normally publish. So Black Label is comics that are specifically aimed at adults.
Gotcha.
So they're more violence and that kind of stuff. And like in the early 2000s, whenever Marvel started their Ultimate Universe, they had a line called Max, and it was for adults. And so, different companies have things like that. But there's a series they did that's called Suicide Squad Blaze. And it's really cool because normally when you read a Suicide Squad book, it's very, I mean, it's very much like that comic book aesthetic where it's like, yes, there's stakes, but like you kind of know what's gonna happen and stuff, and you're following these like colorful characters. This series, you're following a prisoner that gets put on the Suicide Squad because he volunteered for a project called Project Blaze, where they do a procedure called Procedure Blaze, where they give him superpowers essentially. They pick him and a few others and give them the superpowers, but then like as the series is going on, you find out more about where the powers came from, and there's basically this like cannibalistic killer on the loose, and so they're put on the team to catch this cannibalistic killer. But you find out like all these secrets from different people, and all this stuff is happening, and it all escalates, and like some of the people that have that. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but like one of the people that has that had the blaze procedure done dies, and then the rest of the people that had the blaze procedure done get stronger, and so you kind of find out
Interesting.
why that happens and like all this stuff as you go through, and so it's really cool, and it has some of the most beautiful artwork I've ever seen in a comic, and that is
Really?
saying something. But that's all I want to say about it because I don't want to spoil too much.
Okay. So my next one is called Coffin Moon by Keith Rawson. And Dawson can attest to this. Vampires are not my thing. They never have been my thing. Twilight ruined it for me. Um, and this book is a newer book, but I had no interest in reading this book. But everybody kept talking about everybody's like you have to read Coffin Moon. Um, one of my top reads for the year so far already. It is about a guy who um, him and his wife have taken in his niece. She's a early teens, I think. Um, I read this in one in January, so bear with me. But they've taken in their niece. Well, so his the guy's in laws run a bar, and then him and his wife and their niece live above the bar. And one night he hears somebody in the bar, and he go after closing, and he goes down there, and he ticks off the wrong people. And so his wife, his mother-in-law, and his father-in-law get brutally murdered. And of course, the niece is really upset about all of it. And she wants to know who did it. Well, so anyway, you go through some stuff, and you actually find out that the guy that did it is a vampire. And so, and this is not spoilers because I think most of this is in the description of the book, but um, the niece wants to find this vampire and kill him. And so she actually ends up getting turned into a vampire voluntarily by somebody else. Um, and so basically, the book is about them trying to track down this vampire that killed her family. And it's, of course, it's from the uncle's point of view. And so he's really struggling because what do vampires do? What do they eat? Obviously we know, but like, I'm just saying, like he has to deal with all of that and the backlash of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Really, really highly recommend this book. It was really, really good, and maybe I'll read some more vampire stuff. The last one I want to talk about is, and I think I talked about the first one in this series. Uh, oh, I'm sorry, I got two more I want to talk about. I think I talked about the first one in this series when we did our favorites at the end of the year. You invited it in, and then the sequel is called You Need to Leave. And the series, the two books, they're by Sarah Jules, focus on a dad and his son, and I know we talked about the first one, but he sets out to disprove like a demonologist.
Yeah.
But he actually invites something in when he's
Yeah.
trying to. So the first book ends and you think everything's okay, and the second book picks up where everything's not okay. So it's basically again trying to figure out how to get rid of this entity, and like they are so good. And I don't want to say much more because I don't want to give anything away. And then my last one I want to talk about, and then I'll shut up and let Dawson talk for a minute. Another independent author. His name is John Ward. His book is called A Blackened Heart, A Blackened Soul. And this one is about a guy who, when he was younger, when he was a kid, his mom passed away in a car accident, and something basically attached itself to him. Some dark entity attached itself to him. And I mean, so now he's an adult, and this entity is trying to take everything that's important to him away, and so it's not. I mean, kind of a possession movie, I guess, or book, I guess you could call it, but just very well written and very well written and very intense, and I mean, it's kind of scary. So those are my recommendations for first 3 months of 2025, 2026, whatever the crap year it is. 2026.
So is that everything you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I could go on for hours.
Okay. Well, talk about one more while I'm looking, because I gotta remember what this is called. And I may have talked about it last time.
So I'm gonna throw this out there as one that I was not all that impressed with, and it's probably gonna not go over well. But I was not very impressed with the movie Sinners. Did you see Sinners?
I haven't, but I've heard it's good.
So, um, Michael B. Jordan did a fabulous job in the movie, and the storyline was cool, but and Aaron loved it. My husband loved it, but I felt like the first probably hour of the movie could have been cut out. And I know I'm gonna get like probably backlash for saying that because people love this movie, but there was a lot of build up that I don't really feel like was necessary, and I think it could have been a shorter movie. But once the action started, it was really, really, really good. So I will throw that out there. I'm trying to think what else we've watched lately.
I can't remember what the name of it is, but
We did go see Scream 7. Not a huge fan.
but it was like this web show, and I stop me if I've talked about it because I may have talked about it last time we did our favorites.
Is
But
this a book or a TV show? Movie?
it's a web show
Web show. Okay.
where these people are like in these cubes, and like the only thing we know about them is that each of them is wearing like a shirt or sweater that has a college name on them,
I don't think you've talked about
and each person is in their own cube, separated from everyone else, and there's just one thing in their room, and it may be like. I mean, essentially, there's just one thing in each room, but it could be like multiple of the same thing. So, like, there's one guy that we see. This is kind of a spoiler because it kind of zooms out and shows us later. But he's in a room where there's all these balloons on the ceiling, and then later on we see it and it pulls back and we see he's in a wheelchair. And so, like, they're trying to find useful stuff in all these rooms, and they ask him if there's anything in the balloons, and he's like, "Well, I can't really tell because," and then he doesn't want to explain why.
it. Oh.
But we see he's in a wheelchair, and like there's this one kid where the only thing in his room is a noose, and later on, the spoilers, later on you figure out his brother killed himself.
Oh.
And so, but it's like you figure out like all these different things that are going on while they're in there, and so it's I love stuff where there's like a mystery element to it, where like it puts you right in the middle of it, and then you learn what's going on as it goes.
So is it kind of like the cubes in? When you say cubes, is it kind of like the cubes in that one movie we talked about,
What movie?
Cabin in the Woods?
They're not moving.
No, but I mean kind of.
They're
like...
not glass either. You can't see into the other rooms. I mean, it's just
gotcha.
it's kind of like a cubicle, except it's like all enclosed, like it's just white walls all around.
Oh, gotcha.
And
okay.
but they're not like cubicle walls where you could just break through them. Like
Right.
they're solid walls. Um, and like one guy, the only thing he has is there's a red door on the side of his room, and like one of them has an empty bird cage. Um, and one of them just has a bunch of a bunch of buttons.
Hmm.
And if I remember right, the one with a bunch of buttons, if you
Like pushing buttons or like clothing buttons?
like pushing buttons,
Okay.
like big red buttons on the wall.
Okay, gotcha.
And if I remember right, he whatever buttons he presses, he can talk to the people in those rooms.
Interesting.
And there's like one kid that's like he's kind of like a bully kid, and he there's a throne in his room, so he calls himself the king, and kind of tries to elect himself as like the leader, but
Okay,
he doesn't
I'm
do a
gonna know
good
what
job.
this is about. We may have to talk more after we stop recording.
We'll watch it at some point, but I gotta figure out what it was called because I saw it. There was a YouTuber, and I don't remember who it was. It may have been Billiam. I don't think it was Jeffy it, but it was someone on YouTube, and they made a video about it. And so I was like, oh, that looks cool. And so I didn't even watch their video until after I went and watched the show, because they said that at the beginning. They said, go watch the show first if you haven't seen it. And so I did that, and it's really good. The acting is not amazing, but it's really good overall.
Are they trying to solve puzzles to escape?
Kind of. Why?
Is it called The Cube?
No, that's an entirely different movie. The Cube is like an actual like budgeted movie where they're because I've seen it.
Well, no, I thought so, but it says
What's it
Show is
say?
likely a 2010 YouTube-based fictional scripted web series or indie game show where college students.
Yeah, that's it.
It is distinct from the mainstream game show The Cube,
Okay, that's it.
but it doesn't tell me what it is.
What do you mean?
It doesn't tell me what the name of it is.
Oh, it's the Cube, isn't it?
It's
Because it said it's distinct from the game show The Cube,
so maybe it is.
so it would be the Cube. So anyway, yeah, we should watch that at some point.
So I got one more thing I want to throw out there.
Yes.
So Aaron and I have been watching it. Well, we finished it now, and I'm really sad that we finished it. But we've been watching a TV show. That doesn't look like it's it either.
I really don't think it's called The Cube. Because The Cube is also... There's like a horror movie called The Cube.
I know.
Anyway, I will figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, so we've been watching a show called School Spirits.
Yes,
And
I like that
you,
show.
Huh?
I've only seen the first season, but I like that show.
Okay, so it has Peyton.
I have no idea.
She's the
I
girl
don't know
from
people's
Jesse.
names.
Anyway, she's the main character in the show, and obviously she's in high school, and this is not a spoiler because it happens in the first episode, but she gets murdered in the school, and she ends up meeting other ghosts of people who have died at the school,
And she doesn't remember who murdered her.
right, and the school, I mean, must have the worst luck ever because of all these people that are still there and died at the school. But anyway, but her best friend Simon can see her and hear her. Only her. He can't see the other ghosts. So she's having Simon try to help her figure out who murdered her and what happened. Now, I don't like her character. She's the main girl in the show. If it wasn't for Simon and Wally, who's one of the other ghosts, I probably wouldn't have kept watching it. But I loved Wally and I loved Simon. And there's 3 seasons of it, and they haven't said if they're going to do a 4th season. But it is really, really good for a TV show. Aaron really got hooked on it too, and he really liked it. So I highly recommend that one. Like I said, is it Lisk? Is it Peyton Lisk? List? Peyton? I don't know. Anyway.
I have no idea.
I highly recommend it. If you can get past her, the show is really good. So check that one out too.
Have you seen Ghosts?
No.
It's a comedy show.
We started to watch part of the first episode because it started playing after School Spirits one day. School Spirits.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what we were watching School Spirits on, but that show. But it was late. I mean, it was like 9 o'clock, late for us old people. So we didn't finish watching it, but.
It's funny.
So those are my top choices for the first quarter of 2026. Do you have anything to add?
Not really. I mostly just wanted to talk about Die.
So next week we are covering one of my favorite disaster horror movies, The Day After Tomorrow.
Yes.
And
then Geostorm and Into the Storm.
yes, and we have decided we're going to do kind of themed
Yes.
months. So we've got psychological horror, storms, or natural
Sharks.
disasters, sharks, and serial killers.
killers.
So if you have any good suggestions on movies or books that follow those categories, let us know. And if not, we will see you next week.
Yep.